What if the thing you love doing for others becomes the business that changes your life? Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. My guest today is Ali Raymer, founder and lead travel advisor at Peace and Pearl Travel Company. Ali began her career as a school teacher. Her early passion for travel grew as she began taking students and parents on educational trips overseas. That passion eventually became a profession and then a business. Today, Ali helps clients plan everything from honeymoons and European adventures to family vacations, river cruises, business trips, and group travel. Her company's website describes a high-touch approach where the client brings the dream and Ali and her team handle the details, logistics, local partners, changes, and surprises that inevitably come with travel. Ali's story is especially interesting because the travel industry has changed dramatically. Online booking platforms, social media, AI, and endless travel content have made information easier to find, but they've also made decisions more overwhelming. Ali has built a business around the idea that expertise, trust, and personal service still matter. We'll talk about her move from teaching to entrepreneurship, how she built and scaled her business, how she managed through uncertainty, and what it takes to create a high-touch client experience, and why the future of travel may be more human, not less. And it all begins right now. Stick around. Hey, Ali, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Me too, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for being here. One of the reasons I'm so excited to talk to you today is I am, as we talked about just a few minutes ago off air, I'm a huge proponent of travel agents. One of our good friends is a travel agent, and we do a lot of cruising. We do 2 or 3, sometimes more cruises every year, and I got a guy, right? You know, if you need a
You're
plumber,
right.
an electrician, whatever, it's good to. I got a guy, a mechanic. I got a guy when it comes to travel agency. I feel like I have someone like inside. And
Yeah.
our cruise line of choice is Celebrity. And
Nice.
he sells like a lot. He's always getting these awards from Celebrity. He's just like a celebrity guy. And so I feel like he has a little bit more. He has phone numbers, maybe other people. Certainly I don't
I'm
have,
sure he does.
And we always get these deals, and he lets us know of stuff before it's available to the public. We're actually scheduled to go on Celebrity's first river cruise on the
Oh, I was going to
inaugural.
ask that.
Yeah, we're on the
Nice.
inaugural sailing.
He hooked you up.
And well, yeah, and when we were on a cruise, we just did a cruise from Australia to Honolulu, a repositioning cruise, and my wife, I always dread the part where she walks past the future cruise desk,
Oh, yeah.
because that always costs money.
Yep, for sure.
And she asked about maybe changing the date of that river cruise, and they looked at her like, "Are you kidding?" She goes, "You
Don't do
can't.
it.
Don't. This is sold out. This sold out like in the first 30 minutes. You
It
know,
did.
and
It did.
yeah."
I remember it.
And
Yeah.
she goes, no one wants to give up their thing. And so all of a sudden we're like, oh, no, 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 we're keeping it. We're keeping it. But
Right. Oh, that's fun.
anyway,
You'll have to keep me posted on that. That'll be an exciting adventure to see Celebrity go on the river. So
yeah, well, Celebrity tends to do things right. So we'll
they do.
see if an inaugural cruise on an inaugural ship with a totally new type of staff, we'll see how they get that done. I'm sure there'll be a few little surprises here and there. But anyway, so Ali, what was the first moment when travel became more than something you just personally enjoyed? What
Yeah.
was the spark that said, "Hey, I can do this"?
Yeah. So I was, in my intro, you mentioned I was a teacher. I was a high school English teacher in a small little town. I was booking trips for my students and their parents, and I was traveling with them. And we were having to do a lot of fundraising. It was a Title I school. Could not afford those trips, to be honest. And we just made it work. And my husband's aunt at the time owned her own agency, and she said, "Ali, you've traveled so many wonderful places and gotten to do this, and you're selling travel to people with no money, but you can sell travel to people with money and make money." And I was like, "Oh, okay, this would be really interesting to try to make this work. And to be honest, I was in a season of my life where I didn't think about travel agencies. I didn't really know that they existed. And so I didn't know that that business model even existed. And she brought me along. She worked in a home-based agency, and I would spend my summers sitting at her desk and her kitchen table and learning from her. And that's when I kind of got hooked, and I just absolutely loved it. I realized I was staying in teaching for the travel, and I realized I needed to make a shift. So,
Yeah, excellent. You never know how things work out. I mean, sometimes I think like my journey into entrepreneurship was more like a pinball in a pinball machine, just kind of bouncing off all the bumpers randomly. But
yep.
then as you get a little bit of perspective and a little bit of time behind you, you start to see there was connections between all these things. It's like you were meant to
Oh,
be doing this,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You started your career as a teacher, as you just said. What did teaching give you that later helped you become an entrepreneur? I know there's a lot of cat herding when it comes to teaching, and particularly dealing with parents and organizing trips. But besides the learning how to organize a trip and sell a trip and things like that, what other aspects of working with children and teaching in that kind of educational environment
Yeah.
help you?
I really feel like so much of what I'm doing day to day now is education. I'm just educating people on different things. Instead of teaching them, the Great Gatsby, I'm teaching them about how to navigate in a new country, about different destinations, about different products that are out there. So it's still coming from a posture of education for sure. And I really enjoy that aspect of my job, being able to be that lifelong learner. I mean, travel is always changing. There's always new products out there, and new things that we can learn about, and then just informing my clients of those things for sure. And then I think teachers at the end of the day, like, we're always problem solvers and we're always hustlers. I mean, every teacher that I know has another job and they kind of make it work. And so we're not afraid to work hard, and we're not afraid to really put in like extra hours and things like that. So for me, it felt like a really natural transition. Now I had to learn marketing and sales and all of that kind of thing, but paying attention to the little details and being that lifelong learner, that has never left.
Once you realize that there was an industry called travel agencies, I grew up with travel agencies. When I first got into
Right.
my industry, the only way to get a ticket on an airline was to go to a travel agent, right? Or go to the
Yeah.
airport ticket desk, one of the two.
Yeah.
Name your choice. And they sat in front of their Apollo computer or Sabre computer, depending what airline they're associated with.
Yep.
And they typed like 5,000 characters, and then they'd tell you what flight is available, right? You'd had
Hmm.
no visibility, no option, nothing like that. And to younger generations, the thought of a travel agent is new. To me, there were travel agents, then there weren't, then I found another use for a travel agent, right?
Right.
And when did you realize? Well, let me ask you this first. Did you start your adventure into that travel world as a side hustle at first, and then morph that into like, hey, I can do this? Is that was that the
Yeah.
transition? Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was something that I didn't have kids at the time. I was, married, but you have plenty of free time when you don't have kids.
Right.
And, you have bills to pay. And the teaching job, it was good, but it didn't pay for all the things we wanted to do. So I thought, well, okay, this could help pay for some of those things. So it definitely started out as a side hustle. And then I remember looking at the commissions that could come in and the potential, and thinking, wow, if I just had more time to invest in this, I could really make a go at this, and this could replace my teacher income and beyond since then. But yeah, at first it definitely was just a side hustle. I mean, I made no money in the beginning because you're just learning. You've no book of
Sure.
business, you've no referrals. You're just learning, so you're spending so much time researching and learning products. So you're making pennies on the hours, but once you can get through that initial season, yeah, then it was like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and like, oh, this is a lot of potential here for making good money and providing for my family for sure.
So what changed from the side hustle mentality, where you're learning, you're probably having fun, you're not making a lot of money, but and then you kind of realize, okay, there's more to be made. What changes did you make from your side hustle mentality to, okay, this is serious. I could do well. What
Yeah.
what did you have to change in that mentality, in that emotional state?
I think for me, it was a personal thing too, because in that season that I went from teacher side hustle to fully transitioning over, leaving my teaching job, I actually also had my son in that season. And so I think it was one of those things of, okay, I need to provide for my family in a new way. And the pressure was on. It was like,
Yeah,
I'm now providing, beyond just myself. And yeah, I had him actually in the very beginning of 2020, Valentine's Day 2020. And at that point, I had replaced my teacher salary with my commissions from my travel job. And
nice.
also, too, like I wanted to have that flexibility. Like, going to school every day and watching other people's children, like as much as I loved it in the earlier season of my life, I knew I wanted to have more flexibility. I say flexibility. Now I'm laughing at myself because I work so much now. But in that
Right.
moment, I thought I'll have more flexibility with him at home. I'll, get more opportunities to spend time with him. And I definitely have. We've had more flexibility for sure. But I would say that personal season in my life is really what drove it.
It's funny you said, you have to laugh at, quote unquote flexibility. There are entrepreneurship is romanticized, right, by the
Yeah.
civilian. I call people who are not entrepreneurs civilians, right? So the civilian world has this whole view. You've probably heard this already, but if you haven't, you will for the rest of your entrepreneurial life. Oh, Ali, you're so lucky. I wish I was. I wish I owned my own business. You can write your own checks. You can take as much time off as you want. You have no boss. You don't report to anybody. None of which of that is true,
Right. It's all
including
the opposite of that.
including flexibility. What were some
Yeah.
of the things that surprised you that you didn't expect when you started your own agency? That
Yeah.
like there goes the flexibility, or there goes the lack of a boss thing. Were there other things
Yeah.
that just kind of like hit you like deer whack a mole, 2x4 across the
Right.
face?
I think one of the hardest things in the beginning was I was going from a teaching job, which was very much when I walked in the door at that school, I was teacher mode, 8 a.m. When I left at 3 p.m. I'm going to be honest, like I love those kids, but like it was 3 p.m. I was done. Miss Raymer was out. So I really didn't think about my job outside of that. But this was so different. Like figuring out the boundaries of entrepreneurship was one of the most challenging things that I encountered. And I think that's because, you are now you're going from an 8 to 5, or in my case an 8 to 3, and it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm literally working all the time. And especially for the kind of business that I have, I liken it to like a realtor too. We are working all hours, nights, weekends, even in the middle of the night, because our clients can be halfway across the world. I have clients in Fiji right now. I have clients in Paris right now. So I'm constantly thinking, what time is it there? What are they doing? Do they need something? Do they have a question? So for us, it truly is a 24/7 gig. And because we are that point of contact, we are the guy, right?
Yeah.
We can be technically texted, called at any time of day, depending on where our clients are. So that was a huge transition for me, is figuring out what are the boundaries going to be for client communication and just managing how I'm going to interact with my clients, because you go from set hours to literally working all the time, or being on call all the time, truly.
So I'm going to refer to your current business, Peace and Pearl Travel Company,
Mhm.
as Ali 2.0. There was an Ali
For sure.
1.0.
Yes.
You had another agency, and about the worst thing that can happen to any service-based, travel-based industry was COVID. It,
Yeah.
as you know, and the whole audience keenly is aware, it shut down the travel industry completely. I travel for a living. I'm always on airplanes and occasionally cruise ships, and it it stopped. Almost. Well, I still traveled by air, but it was a whole different experience. I mean, I was going on
So
airplanes where there was
different.
20 people on a 150, seat airplane, and all the middle seats were empty, and
Yeah.
the airports were empty. It was crazy, and they didn't serve meals on a lot of flights because they didn't want you to take your mask off, and it was just insanity.
Such a different
And
experience. Yeah.
oh my God. And, the people in the service end, like, particularly hotel and cruise ships and all that, they did grind to a halt, right? Airlines were crippled. Everything else was just dead in the water. So there is no backup contingency plan when that's your primary source of income. So I totally get how your first travel agency didn't survive that. Many, many, many didn't. You were in great company, in terms of, that. Did that, obviously, it didn't dissuade you from rebooting 2.0. What did you learn from that experience, that 1.0, that you brought into 2.0? Either what did you learn to avoid or what did you learn to magnify and do more of? Because you kind
Yeah.
of had a trial run.
Oh, absolutely. So I started in 2017 to kind of give like a timeline to this. I started with Picture This Travel in 2017. And then in 2019, I quit my teaching job, obviously not knowing what was coming, to pursue full time with Picture This Travel. And then obviously the whole world shut down in March of 2020. Now I stayed with it. So I remember my husband's aunt, my mentor at the time, she owned Picture This Travel, and she just said, just stay with it. Like, yes, you're not going to make any money this year. I think I made $3,000 that year. I remember
Wow.
sitting down with my tax guy and being like, wow, that was a lot of time spent for $3,000, but
Yeah,
great.
don't divide it by the hour, right?
Um, yeah, no, that was bad. A lot of hold time, a lot of hold time. But I just remember her saying it was a lot of tears and it was a lot of, just struggles. And I was a new mom, so it's just going through a different season of my life.
You had a
And
lot going
I
on.
remember
You had
I had a lot
COVID.
going on.
You had a new. You're a new mom. You had
Yeah.
a business.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was crazy. So I just remember her saying, just stay with this. She had been in the business a long time. She had seen, not that it was the same, but she had seen a similar slowdown with 9/11, and kind of overcoming that slowdown and that hurdle. And she said, I promise you, if you will stay the course, and if we stay the course, then people will come back to us because they will trust us and they will know that we survived. And so we actually did. Picture This Travel did survive all of that. And we actually grew. That was the crazy part. So we slowed down with travel, but as soon as we could, I remember the suppliers being like, hey, we'll send you here. We'll send you here. Like, go visit this, go show people it's safe to travel. And we did. And I mean, we went in 21, I think, to Cabo for a fam. And that totally transformed the way that I did my business because I was like ready to just go balls to the wall at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, it's already burned to the ground once. I have nothing to lose. I am
Right.
a young mom. I have nothing to lose. Like, let's just go for it. And then in 22, my husband and I decided to live in Italy for a month. And I really wanted to invest in my European business. And I thought this is the way to do it, is to show people that I'm putting my money where my mouth is and, really investing in what I'm asking people to invest in as well. We spent a month there. That has been the best business decision I've ever made, was spending a month in Italy, and it has been my number one bestseller ever since. And
And did you
I
record that?
sell.
Did you create content on that?
Oh yes,
You're like Ali in Italy or something?
yeah. Oh yes. There's lots of content. If my Instagram is definitely my, what you see is what you get with the travel content. So yeah, there was a lot of content to be had. I started a YouTube channel eventually, all those kinds of things. But yeah, that really put myself on the map, I think. And And then picture this travel, that kind of came to an end in that season. They still exist, but I kind of was just going on a different path. And so I decided I'm becoming a leader and I really want to own my own thing. And that's just my personality. So I started Peace and Pearl just this year. And that's more just kind of reflection of, I've been in this industry for almost a decade now, and I was ready to kind of forge my own path. So, yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Where did the name Peace and Pearl come from?
So, my son's name is Paxton, and Pax in Latin means peace. And then my daughter's middle name is Margaret, and the meaning of that is pearl. So, I just thought, yeah, let's do it. That's why I did it, is for the two of them and for them to get to see the world and experience the world. So that's why I do it.
I love that. I love when there's stories like that behind a company name. I had interviewed someone, I don't know, several months ago, and up to that point, I always got great responses to that question. How'd you come up with that name? And I asked him, he had an interesting company name, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a good story behind that name. I said, how'd you get the company name? He goes, it's the only URL I could get. I was
Hey,
like,
that's you. You got
really?
to be realistic.
Yeah, well, it was realistic. I mean, he definitely got it. No one would think of that one. What's one common misconception people have about travel agents?
I think that, I've really tried to move away from using the term travel agent, and I've tried to lean more into using the term travel advisor.
I
Obviously,
like that.
we're travel agents, but I think what we end up doing is we end up advising way more. I think a lot of times I become people's therapist
Yes.
sometimes, which is fine. And we do a lot more on the advising side of things. So I'm not just a booking agent. And I think you mentioned this maybe earlier in the intro about technology and how that's all changing. And we might get to that later, but we think about AI agents and what they're capable of. So I've tried to kind of shift that language because I think that's a huge misconception for people is a lot of my clients will come to me and they'll say, I've never worked with a travel agent before. I don't know how this works. And so I'm like instructing them on like how the process actually works and that I'm not just here to click some buttons and book some things for you. I'm here to really listen. Just this morning, I was on a call with a client. She's always wanted to go to Italy. They're taking kind of a delayed honeymoon, but she was like, I don't even know what I don't know. Like, I don't even know where to start. She was
Right.
like, I know I want to go here. And then from there, I have no idea. And I'm like, well, Italy is a huge country. So let's start to narrow things down. And just listening, really listening to people's desires and listening between the lines sometimes, because sometimes they'll say one thing, but they really want something else, and trying to listen and envision, okay, what kind of vacation are they wanting to achieve here? What kind of budget do they have? And putting the puzzle pieces together to make it work. So I really see myself as more of like an advisory role than just sitting at a computer desk making some bookings for people. Like, to be totally honest, that's probably the most boring part of my job is making the
Right.
booking and swiping the credit card. It's exciting, but it's also kind of boring. But the most fun part is interacting with the clients and going out and experiencing new products and knowing, oh, this is like your agent. He was probably like, you know what? Mike is going to love the Celebrity River products because he knows what kind of travel you all like to do and he's listening and he's thinking about you all. So I think
Yeah.
that's like the huge misconception that people have.
Yeah. Speaking of Italy, that's one of our favorite European destinations. And a couple years ago, we did a trip with our American friends, and I think there was 15 or 20 of us on the ship. And I worked with, I wouldn't call this guy a travel agent. They're really more like a tour company, but they
Mhm.
outsource all their stuff. So they're, in essence, a travel agent.
Right.
A guy in Italy named Mario. Go figure, right? There's probably a million
Right.
of them there. But it's like Mario's Tours or something. I forget. But they're kind of bougie, exclusive tour providers, and they got contact. They got a guy everywhere, right?
Oh,
So
they definitely have
and
guys.
yeah. So instead of doing any excursion through Celebrity, we went through this tour company. And there was a large group of us, so we just divided the cost by the entire group. So it actually
Yep.
wasn't bad.
End up probably being cheaper. Yeah.
We went to Capri on a private yacht, crewed just for us, not shared, right? We didn't have
Yep.
to get on the bus with a whole bunch of, people with walkers and people with babies and everything in between.
Yep.
It was pretty exclusive. We did the Vatican and walked right in the door, walked right in the door,
Yep.
got into sections that the public, oh, they would remove the rope so we could go in there, right? We
Right.
went to
Right.
Trevi Fountain, and not only saw Trevi Fountain, we went under the fountain to the
Ender.
cisterns
That's so
beneath,
cool.
which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
no one knows about that, right? And we then went to Turkey, and we're on the river in Turkey on a small private yacht to a
Hmm.
restaurant that had a whole section for us, just for us, right?
Yep.
Everyone knew we were coming. This could not have been better planned. And the
Yep.
cost, it was a little bit more, obviously, than the
Right.
excursion price that Celebrity would
But
charge.
the value
But
that you're
oh
getting.
my God, no comparison. And I mean, I'm bragging to a travel agent about it, right? And that's your business. You know this is possible.
You're like, isn't
So,
it
yeah.
awesome?
So that to me is the value of,
Yeah.
as I keep using this phrase, I know a guy, right? I know a gal.
Hmm.
You got to use my agent. I'm the biggest promoter of my travel guy, just
Right.
because I just love the experience. In a world of, we talked earlier about online booking and all that, social media, travel content, AI tools. Why do humans still matter?
Yeah.
What do you bring? I mean, everyone can get at some point to the same destination in terms of information, but where do you play a role that just trumps all the other available platforms?
Yeah. I think really it's exactly the story that you're telling of this Rolodex, right? And it's this Rolodex of well-traveled
You are
agents as
too
well.
young to know the word Rolodex. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
don't know.
calling you
Actually,
out
when you
on
were
that
talking
one.
about no, 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 when you were talking about travel agencies earlier, I remember my dad used to go to AAA and he
There
would
you
get a
go.
trip ticket and I would get to go through the trip ticket and it was like a little highlighted route. So actually, I think I've been destined to be a travel agent for a long time. But
I imagine so.
um yeah, so no, the Rolodex is really the key. I mean, and my Rolodex is my WhatsApp with all my numbers saved and I'll be like, yeah, Marco in Italy, great driver. And that's like literally what he's
Yeah.
saved as in my phone. But it's so true. I mean, just this last week, oh my gosh, I had clients, it's their first time to London and Paris, big family, all adults, they're all going, but it's big family. And the dad who is footing the bill for a lot of it is a huge Beatles fan. And his one thing he wanted to do was to do a Liverpool tour for the
Mm.
Beatles and then a London tour about the Beatles. So both. So I get an email right before they leave. No joke, it's like 5 days before they leave. And they're like, hey, so the King's birthday parade is going to cancel this tour. And I had booked through a very reputable tour operator that I've used plenty before. And I like kind of pushed back a little bit on it. I was like, can't we work around this? Like, can we do this? I pushed back and they were like, no, we just can't make that work, whatever. And I'm like, okay, roll my eyes. So then I go through my Rolodex and I'm like, let me find my guy. So I pull up Ollie and Ollie is my go-to. I met him through a person back when we were living in Italy. I met him through somebody else and got his number and I've been using him ever since. And I mean, I have that relationship built with him, like for the last probably 6 or 7 years that I've been going to him and I'm like, hey, Ollie, this is what I need. And he's like, girl, I got you. Don't worry about it. And he like gets me his Beatles guide. We figure out a game plan. We work around the King's birthday parade. And it's because I have that built-in relationship. So like, yeah, you can find any tour on Viator for sure.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, like it's the relationships with these people that we've built up over the years that are really going to come in clutch whenever something does happen or something, because it's travel. It's going to happen. Something is going to happen. And I mean, I've got these guys all over the globe. Like I've got Ralph in Amsterdam. If I need something, I text Ralph. Hey, I've got these people. This is what they want to do. Oh yeah, no problem. I'll get them hooked up. So it's like that relationship. That's what you're paying for the travel advisor is the years that we've built these relationships because we're booking thousands of people. all over the globe, you know? And so we
Yeah.
have this, we've gone back to these people again and again. And there's, you know, that reciprocity there. And yeah, you can go book a tour on Viter and I'm sure it'd be great, or Project Expedition or wherever, but
Yeah,
you don't have the relationship.
we use Viter, and they're about 80% good.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, maybe 15-20% of the time, you just get nothing's ever been bad, but
Right.
mediocre, not quite what we expected, a little bit lame,
Yeah.
because they're just contracting it out, probably to, you know, a low bidder, a local who knows architecture, who can walk it on an architecture tour or, celebrity tour or whatever. But it's different from the tour operator not wanting to disappoint you. They can disappoint me. They lose one client, me.
Yeah.
They disappoint
Yeah.
you, they could lose 100 clients or more, right? So
Exactly. Yes.
there's this leverage that, I can use your leverage. You're the
Exactly.
leverage proxy to the tour
Right.
company because I have no clout. My travel agent, my travel advisor, you as a travel
There you go.
advisor. There you go. See, I
Yeah.
can learn. You have clout, and you have influence because
Right.
you're important to them. I
Yeah.
am not necessarily important to them. If things go bad, they're not going to lose too much sleep over it.
Well, yeah, well, and I think too, it's a matter of like who's your advocate, you know, because a lot, obviously, you're working with a travel agent, so you understand the value behind that. But for someone who's just booking direct, let's say, so if someone's booking direct with celebrity, well, that's fine and well, you know, celebrity is a good product, but at the end of the day, celebrity is going to advocate for themselves
Of
first and
course.
foremost. They're
Yep.
not going to advocate for you as the client. So that's the other thing too, is like I learned that lesson during COVID. I was the one who sat on hold. I was the one who fought for many refunds to go back to my clients. If they would have booked direct, I don't know. I don't know if that would happen. Maybe it would have happened. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like they're a business, they're looking out for their best interest. Whereas I'm this kind of third party that can really look out for your best interest and make sure, let's do this that's right for you, not that's right for some big company.
Yeah. I remember we couldn't go on a celebrity cruise that we were booked on. They were just reopening. It was a Eastern or Western Caribbean cruise, and the day, 2 days, 3 days before we were flying out to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, I guess it was. You had to do the online COVID test with a proctor on the other side, and I failed it. I had COVID. I didn't even know, so I couldn't go. It took 3 months to get my refund, and they sent it in 3 installments,
Oh
which
God.
which tells me, well, it was fine. I was just very relieved.
Yeah.
I mean, that was no complaint of that at all. But it kind of led me to believe Celebrity was paying out way more money than they were bringing in, and they were
Oh yeah.
managing cash flow. Right? They couldn't
Oh
just
yeah.
do instant refunds for thousands of people around the world.
No.
They had to kind of pace it out a little bit. But but they did, and good for them.
Right.
What are some of the behind the scenes problems that you solve for clients that they probably will never realize that you've done, besides the endless hold times?
Yeah, endless hold times. I would say sometimes we'll get emails. Just today, actually, this is so funny, but like just today, I got an email from my Versailles tour operator saying President Trump is going to be in Versailles now, so we have to cancel all the tours on the 17th. And I was like, oh my gosh, the 17th is tomorrow. Like, what the heck? So my clients were actually on the train from London to Paris. And I went in, I got them a new tour booked. They obviously refunded that one because that was out of our control, and got them a new one booked for the 18th. They had time that day, moved some other things around. So there's a lot of things like that. Like they're on a train. They probably don't even know. They're not checking their email, which is
Right.
good. They don't need to
They're on
check their
vacation.
email, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
They're on vacation, yeah. And so a lot of things like that happen. It's why I set my alarm every day at 5 a.m. because I'm usually checking my email, like, okay, what problem can I solve for someone before they ever even know that it, occurred.
Yeah.
Or just little things. Yeah. Like, my honeymooners that left for Italy yesterday, their flight got canceled. and they got rebooked. It was on a later flight, and I reached out to the driver, making sure he could accommodate them for the later flight. So just little components like that they don't have to worry about, and it just makes the process a little bit more seamless when they arrive. Just making sure that we're texting those people, WhatsApping those people, emailing them, and making sure that the client has a super seamless experience. And we always reconfirm literally everything. I have an assistant that will email every hotel and double, triple check every booking. So little things like that, can fall through the cracks. Maybe if you're planning your own trip, you just assume because you have that confirmation from Expedia that it's set.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, you're probably right. But there is that 10th time where we have caught errors, we have caught mistakes, and we always do it on the front end. So a lot of times our clients don't even know about that kind of stuff, but we fix it. So
what mistakes, in your opinion, what mistakes do newer travel advisors make when they're trying to grow and scale their business?
Gosh, growing and scaling the business, I would say in the beginning, you really want to say yes to everything. You want to say yes to every client. You want to say yes to every kind of trip. You want to lean into like being the order taker, I think. And I think that's something that I really have to train my newer advisors that are on my team and at my agency now. Like, let's really lean into your superpower and what you do well. And you do not have to be an order taker. That is not your job. That's not your role. If a client is asking for an adults only all inclusive on, St. Kitts, that doesn't exist. You're not going to invent it all of a sudden. Okay. So like, especially for the budget they want to spend.
There's no Club Med on St. Kitts.
No. So it's one of those things of like, we can't just bow down to these requests and things that are unrealistic as well, either logistically, budget wise, whatever. I think that that's really tempting in the beginning, is to just promise the world to people when they come to us and say yes to it all. And we really have to stand firm and be like, no, like that's not a good decision. That's not logical. That is not going to work within your budget. This is what you need to do instead. And a lot of newer advisors probably just say yes to everything. And then they spin themselves into a research dark black hole, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty common. Last question. Before you started your travel agency, 1.0 and even 0.50, before it was even a side hustle, how did you define success back then, and how do you define it now?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I would say before, like, success was definitely like achieving, and I was such an achiever. I think I'm not an eldest daughter, I'm a youngest daughter, but I still have that achiever mentality and wanting to feel like that I have checked all the boxes. And now I really see that being in this industry, the boxes are all never going to get checked. Like, you're not going to come to a nice, pretty finish line. Entrepreneurship is one of those things that it's just forever. Like, it's just going to be, there's always going to be something to improve. There's always going to be a task to be done. And I think it really comes from people coming to you and saying, wow, like, you helped me achieve this. And so it's really just shifting that mentality of like, oh, I checked the box and I completed the thing and I did great and I got an award and whatever. And now it's shifted to this one person's text while they're sitting at a restaurant with their family, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're here in Rome. Like, this is amazing. We're having the best pizza of our life, like, that's success. And I think a lot has changed for me over the last 9-10 years of being in the industry, and both personally and professionally. Becoming a mom, I think, really changes your perspective on things too. And you start to see that it's all these little moments that add up. That's really where success is found instead of, achieving. So that would be my answer.
Great answer. To my audience that would like to get more information on Peace and Pearl Travel Company, that information will be there on the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, right down below me, there's a little thing that says see more. Click that, and the link to Ali's website will be there. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, then go to that podcast app, look at the show notes, and her information will be there as well. And I would highly encourage, as a person who travels for a living, and many of that travel is on cruise ships and experience things, vacations, and things like that, I highly recommend that you use a travel advisor. We've been doing that for a long time. I went from not doing it to doing it, and it's a whole night and day different experience, particularly when things don't turn out as planned, not if, when. You need someone on your side. You need your guy. You need your gal, right? So I would highly recommend that. And Ali, continued success to you. I'm not sure what 1.0 was like, but I'm very impressed with 2.0. And the fact that you create content, you educate, I think that's what separates successful businesses today from less successful businesses today, because it's the generation of people who are using your services now did not grow up reading newspapers and advertisements and things like that. They investigate, they look at blogs, they look at content, they're looking for influencers, and way more than my generation did, right? Because my generation are technology immigrants. Your generation are technology natives. There's a lot of tech out there so information can spread. And you're taking a very classic industry, which has been around since, the first airplane took off pretty much, till today, that's changed so much. And you're choosing to educate the world, living in another country for a month so that you could, experience it, get contacts, share that journey with your clients. I think that's the way modern businesses market today. It's a process called conscious marketing, and it's so different than traditional types of marketing. I see you're getting a little blurry here, so there's a little bit of an internet connection going on right now. Are you still hearing me?
I know.
Okay, you're there. You're still there. I
can still hear you.
Real Ali is still there.
Still
you're
here.
back. You're back. Some kid down the street's playing Minecraft with 1,000 other people, and that affects the bandwidth. But
I know.
I highly encourage people to use a travel advisor, and I applaud the way that you're marketing your business and yourself, and I think that is the future. So kudos to you. Continued success to you, and hope our paths cross again.
That sounds awesome, Mike. Thank you so much.
All right, here are some final thoughts. Ali's story is a reminder that entrepreneurship often begins with a simple act of service. You help someone solve a problem, you do it well, and eventually you realize there may be a business hiding inside that ability. What stands out about Ali's journey is that she built a company in an industry where technology keeps promising to make the expert unnecessary. But information is not the same as guidance. Options are not the same as confidence. And booking a trip is not the same as designing an experience. For entrepreneurs, Ali's story offers an important lesson. The real value of a business is not always found in the transaction. Sometimes it's found in trust, judgment, care, and the confidence customers feel when they know someone capable is looking out for them. Now, that is a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We've been busy recording future episodes with fascinating guests, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a great guest, of course we'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com where you can apply or recommend a guest, or just learn more about the show. And a couple of shameless plugs. I've started a new series under the Reluctant Entrepreneur brand. The new series is called Reluctant Lessons, Where Businesses Go Wrong. On this series, we dig into high-profile business failures and the story behind it all. So far, we've profiled numerous companies, including Rubbermaid, Kodak, Blockbuster, BlackBerry, Toys R Us, DeLorean Motor Company, with many more to come. There's no shortage. Check them out on this channel. And if you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable, it's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. And finally, to everyone listening or watching, if you find yourself stepping into entrepreneurship, whether by choice or by circumstance, remember this. Sometimes the path we never planned becomes the journey we were meant to take. That's it. I'm out of time. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate all of you, and I'll see you again soon.